Hello, kids. So, we all don't like homework, do you? So, this is a story of a kid who belongs to your category, who belongs just like you, who is just like you. He doesn't like to do homework. But then there was one incident that happened to him, and he started doing his homework. So, the name of the chapter here is Who Did Patrick's Homework? Standard 6 from the Honeysuckle textbook. I'll give you a brief context about the story. So, here, a small kid is actually very ignoramus. That means he is very, very ignorant, doesn't like to do studies, just likes to play games, go out, roam here and there. But then, eventually, what happened to him is that's gonna be very surprising. Let us read the story and then understand how it is. Okay, let's go. Patrick never did homework. Too boring, he said. He played hockey and basketball and Nintendo instead. His teacher told him, Patrick, do your homework or you won't learn a thing. And it's true, sometimes he did feel like an ignoramus, but what could he do? He hated homework. This paragraph tells us about how Patrick went to the school, how he did not do his homework. Instead, he liked playing hockey, basketball, Nintendo. Nintendo is a video game. The word that we are looking here, that is ignoramus, that means ignorant, or you can say lazy. Moving forward, then one day he found his cat playing with a little doll and he grabbed it away. To his surprise, it wasn't a doll, but a man of the tiniest size. He had a little wool shirt with old-fashioned breeches and a high tall hat, much like a witch's. He yelled, "Save me! Don't get me back to that cat. I'll grant you a wish, I promise you that." So, when Patrick was basically playing with his cat, he saw that there was a very tiny person, very tiny man, and he was wearing a coat. So when we say breeches, it's the short trousers or the small kind of coats that a person wears. So this small fellow, the small tiny doll or tiny man said, "Save me, don't get me back to the cat." So he was scared of the cat. So what he did, seeing this, he ran. So Patrick couldn't believe how lucky he was. Here was the answer to all of his problems. So he said, "Only if you do all my homework till the end of the semester, that's 35 days. If you do a good enough job, I could even get A's." So the small, tiny doll did tell Patrick that yes, he will grant him a wish. And Patrick was enlightened. He wanted to do his homework, and this was the way out. So he told him, "If you do my homework, I will save you from the cat." And his semester is basically just 35 days away, that is 1 month away, and he can get A, that is the grade A, the first class. The little man's face wrinkled like a dishcloth through in the hamper. He kicked his legs and doubled his fists, and he grimaced and scowled and pursed his lips. "Oh, am I cursed? But I'll do it." So here what happens is this tiny little fellow thought himself that he is being treated like a cloth which has been cleaned and thrown away. So this cloth means a cloth which is used to clean something and then it is thrown away. He wrinkled, that means he gave expressions. He kicked his leg, that means he was very, very annoyed. Doubled his fists and grimaced and scowled and pursed his lips. So he was just starting to get to fight, making all the faces that he could. But then he thought to himself, like, am I cursed? But I'll do it. So maybe he was actually into some mess. He wanted to get out of that cat's, and then he wanted to do something. And true to his word, that little elf began to do Patrick's homework. Except there was one glitch. The elf didn't always know what to do and he needed help. "Help me! Help me, he would say, and Patrick would have to help in whatever way. I don't know this word, the elf squeezed, and reading Patrick's homework. Get me a dictionary. No, what's even better, look up the word and sound it out by each letter. So this little elf did not do any studies before, was knowing about what the studies are, but Patrick did. So this elf, that means a small little fellow, right? So this elf actually asked Patrick all the time, "What is this word? Tell me what is this?" So he used to trouble Patrick a lot. When it came to maths, Patrick out of luck. "What are times tables?" the elf shrieked. "We elves never need that." And addition and subtraction and division and fraction. Here, sit down beside me. You simply must guide me. Elves know nothing of human history. To them, it's a mystery. So the elf, already a shouter, just got louder. "Go to the library, I need books. More and more books. And you can help me read them too." So the elf, basically, the small tiny man, the small tiny fellow, never had to do this homework, never had to do maths, multiplications. So he was not knowing what to do. So he just shouted at Patrick that "I need your help and you have to help me." As a matter of fact, every day, in every way, that little elf was a nag. Patrick was working harder than ever, and was it a drag? He was staying up nights, had never felt so weary, was going to school with his eyes puffed and bleary. This little fellow basically had to trouble Patrick every time. Every moment he doesn't know something, he used to wake up Patrick, and because of that, Patrick, who never used to do homework before, now had to do or had to intervene into the homework all the time whenever this small elf used to call him. So, what happened? Finally, the last day of school arrived, and the elf was free to go. As for the homework, there was no more, so he quietly and slyly slipped out the back door. So this small elf had completed the homework like the contract was that within 35 days he had to complete the homework. So what happened here? He completed the homework, and from a small door he just went away. Patrick got his A's, his classmates were amazed, his teachers smiled and were full of praise, and his parents. They wondered what had happened to Patrick. He was now the model kid. Cleaned his room, did his chores, was cheerful, never rude, like he had developed a whole new attitude. What happened? Because of the small elf, Patrick knew what was he doing wrong. So he started studying, getting everything right in place, cleaned his room. He was very humble to everybody, and then his attitude changed. You see, in the end, Patrick still thought he would make that tiny man do all his homework, but I'll share a secret just between you and me. It wasn't the elf. Patrick had done it himself. So, towards the end, what happened? This small elf was supposed to help Patrick. But instead, because Elf was calling Patrick all the time, it was not the elf who was doing the homework, but it was Patrick who was doing it all. So, luckily, it was Patrick who did all his homework. So, the moral of the story here is we should do all our things by our own. That will help us to study more, learn more, and build a bright future. Thank you so much.